Hi, this is Shashwati Sarkar and you're watching The Times of India. Today, we are delving into the dynamic world of international education, exploring why fewer Indian students are going abroad, how global admission trends are shifting, and what really matters when choosing a study destination in 2025. Joining me is Niharika Sondhi, founder and CEO of EdNet Consultants, a pioneer in international education with over 22 years of experience. She has mentored thousands of students securing admissions to elite institutions like Oxford, Cambridge and Ivy Leagues such as Harvard and Columbia. An active member of global education bodies like IACAC and NACAC, Niharika has visited 400 plus universities worldwide, helping students tap into their potential. Stay tuned as we discuss the latest trends, challenges and opportunities in international education today. Thanks a lot for joining us, Niharika. We are really thrilled to have you. The Ministry of External Affairs reported a sharp drop of 15% in the number of students going abroad in 2024. What, according to you, could be driving this drop?
Well, there are several factors which is leading to this drop, and one is, of course, the visa policies. Now, if you know that what is happening with Canada, Canada has created a cap of the number of international students that they're going to take in, which has led to a decline of almost about 47%.
Oh.
And among the internationals, among the Indian students. And when it comes to the UK, they've also brought about stringent policies where dependent visas are concerned. And that has brought in a drop of about 27%. So those caps are some of the reasons where there is a drop in the number of students going abroad. Also, when we are talking about the cost factor, depreciation of the Indian rupee, right from 83 rupees, which was there in 2023, to 87 rupees, which is there right now, is becoming very, very costly for the students and parents to pursue higher education in countries like
housing,
this.
What is driving this escalation of costs? Only the depreciating value of Indian rupee, or also housing shortages in various countries all over the world?
It is not housing shortages in various countries, it's only in Canada, which is
Netherlands also, I guess there's a housing shortage.
Yes, there is. All these smaller countries will have that because there's a huge inflow of international students coming in. But I think it is more than that, it's also the depreciation of Indian rupees. Because suddenly things are not as affordable as one might have thought or planned for their future or for their education. So, and also because of diplomatic tensions, I would say, that unrest, visa delay in visas by Canada, or suspension of the SDS, student direct services, those, and as well as what is happening with the United States. So all this is causing a bit of unrest, and parents and students are now looking at affordable education which is closer to home and which is giving them everything, where their budget is concerned, where their post-graduation work experiences are concerned, employment, industry interface, as well as the international experience that they're looking at.
Right. Traditional destinations like UK, US and Canada are throwing up more roadblocks than runways. And we are seeing a rising interest in France, Germany and Russia. What do you think is the reason behind this shift?
Well, I just mentioned earlier that, stringent visa policies is one of them. The second thing is diplomatic relations. But also now, as you can see, that students are now exploring newer destinations, which was not happening earlier. It was always their favorite destination, going to the United States, Canada or UK. But they're realizing that there are affordable, good, top universities, which is also there in places like Germany, France, Netherlands, Ireland, down to Singapore or UAE. If you look at the cost of Germany, for instance, right, if a public university is either no tuition or very low tuition. Averagely, the cost of a French public university will be about 2,500 to 5,000 euros.
Right.
And if you look at New Zealand, it's just 35,000 New Zealand dollars. So if you compare that with any other country, like larger countries like the US, it is far cheaper. And now they have fantastic universities, credible universities, brilliant degrees, And also look at Germany. They give 18 months post-study work experience.
Right.
Netherlands gives 1 year of orientation to look for a job. Look at Ireland, 2 years of study, work experience. Same thing with UK. And if you look at countries like, I just talked to you about Ireland, Netherlands, Australia. They have 2 to 6 years, depending upon which course you're doing, which degree you're doing, and which location you're graduating from. So now everyone exploring this other side, down to even Japan, South Korea. So I believe that suddenly
South Korea, yes, I've heard of South Korea and Dubai.
Yes,
I've heard a lot about.
Yes, Dubai is not cheap, but people are preferring universities in Dubai because it's closer to home. There's a lot of political stability which they feel, and they feel their kids are going to be much safer there.
Okay.
And I think safety is a huge concern because of the political unrest and uncertainties across the globe. So yes, even Japan, South Korea, Dubai, universities are opening up.
I mean, I don't know why Japan took so long to catch up as a popular study abroad destination. Japan should be as
in
popular. Should be as popular as the US.
Yes, of course.
I don't know why it hasn't happened so far. Why do you think Japan lags behind US?
Because I think
Canada?
it's all about marketing.
Okay.
I mean, bringing about awareness.
Right.
About the universities.
The kind of technological sophistication that they have,
absolutely.
their tech courses must be very sophisticated and no less than an MIT or a Stanford. I mean, that's what I gather.
Yes, of course. But as I told you, they have not marketed themselves so much. So now they're coming in the forefront. Everyone wants international students.
Right.
And it's the best way of booming their economy, I would say. But they are. And a lot of university representatives are also coming to India. And me being a member of International ICAC sees a lot of presence of Japanese universities there. So yes, definitely we're looking at Japan, South Korea. Hong Kong is also there, you know. I think Hong Kong has got a lot of good options for the students and a lot of scholarships. And then when we come down to Singapore, of course, we have the public universities and the private universities, though it's really hard to get into them. Then you come down to Malaysia is doing really well. Yes, a lot of students are wanting to go to Malaysia to study, and you have these international universities setting up their campuses there, which makes it again a cool destination for the students. It's cheap, it's close by, and they can get jobs. That's the end of the thing, you know. So
right. Yeah. So we were discussing about cost-effective alternatives to the big three, US, UK, and Canada. So in terms of ROI, are these really viable while it comes to post-study work and part-time job offers and long-term career growth? What should students keep in mind while choosing an alternative to this big three while choosing their study abroad destinations elsewhere?
See, when you're thinking about choosing,
while thinking beyond the price tag, what should they be aware of?
The most important thing they need to be aware of is the reputation of the university. I believe the course structure.
Reputation or ranking? Like sometimes we confuse reputation with ranking.
See, I don't believe in ranking as such, because I believe, suppose a university may not be among the top 10, but could be a leader in business, you know.
Right.
So what I mean to say is that they should look at the quality of education. That is so important, because you are investing your time and your money and for a future career. And if the university is not well recognized, or if it does not have a proper resources or infrastructure to give you the hands-on learning or training, or industry connections to get you that job employment. I mean, I could be studying in, say, a university in, say, Netherlands, right? And I would say that yes, I'm allowed to work, or in UK, and I'm allowed to work for 2 years. But the university needs to have those right connections with the
Absolutely,
industry to
absolutely.
provide you with that opportunity.
But how will a student from outside get to know about the university connections? Should they connect with the alumni, or how to?
So, as I said, the ranking and the reputation is very, very important. And as you rightfully said, the best way to do is to connect with students who have gone through that experience. What have they done? What are the kind of opportunities they were able to get when they were studying at that university? Or what are the challenges that they faced? For instance, a European country, I always encourage my students to learn the language, because whatever it is, whether it's France or it's Germany, when you go into the real world and join the workforce, you need to know that local language, because that's what gives you that extra edge. So when you're choosing beyond the price, you have to look at 4 important things. One is also cultural adaptability.
Right.
You know, when you talk about going to a foreign country to study, you need to know whether you'll be able to adjust to that culture, that environment, that lifestyle, language, food. You know, so a lot of, because at the end of the day you don't want to land up being homesick and come back home.
Right, absolutely.
So that is also important. The
Food,
quality,
I think, is very important. You know, if you don't get to eat properly,
exactly, yeah. As well as the quality. I think the degree, the employability, job opportunity, research opportunities, and all that you can easily find out now through internet, you know.
how authentic is the information?
I think it is
internet?
quite authentic. And now we have LinkedIn. Why don't you get in touch with the alumni or students who are currently studying there and ask them about their experiences?
Right.
I think that's the right way to move forward. I think it's just not choosing the right university, but it's getting the right network.
Right.
Network is very important. So what is the kind of alumni the university has? What is the kind of industry connections they have? The alumni is the one who's going to get them the industry connections.
Absolutely.
So if they're strong in that, then that's the right way to move forward. And also these foreign degrees, they're getting a lot of recognitions worldwide, even in India.
Right.
You know, we never thought of ABC universities in India earlier on. It was all the ones which is in the United States or UK.
Right.
But now when you hear about IESC or IE or IMD or Bocconi or IE in Spain, you know about these schools, though they have always been good ranking, but they were just not very popular in India.
Right. We all know that India and Canada are not in good terms right now. Visas are getting delayed, permits are getting cancelled. How should students plan to go through this? How can they navigate through this chaos?
So I think the best part is to stay connected with IRCC organization, you know. So they are the ones who are going to help them navigate through any kind of immigration issues, possibilities of delays of visas. And even now they need to look at a broader job prospects. Like we said, there are issues in Canada when we talk about safeties and concerns. They can look at other destinations. They can think about moving into Ireland or any other countries. And I think they are as good as, you know, when it comes to affordability and prospects, just like Canada. So I think they need to be constantly in touch with the changing rules, regulations, policy. And now that we are going to be getting a new Prime Minister in Canada, so hopefully, and he's quite favorable towards India. So let's see what happens, but I'm very, very positive. But they have to be constantly in touch with the IRCC to know about the changes in the immigration policies and look at other options.
What problems are they facing there? You must be having students already living there. Are they sharing any sharing their problems with you?
You know, it's very strange you ask me this question, because I've been asking my students there and no one seems to be having a problem.
That's the reality. Oh.
They're not having any problems. The only problem they could be having is accommodation. And also they are in certain sections and sectors of Canada, you know, where there is, I would say mainly if you look at Manitoba, Alberta, New Brunswick maybe, you know, and maybe overpopulated places like Toronto or Vancouver. But I think housing could be a problem and an issue because, of course, of the huge influx of international students which they took. But where I've not had any complaints about any kind of racism or any kind of students feeling insecure or safety concerns or job issues. So, you know,
housing is the only
the only
problem.
thing which I found a little bit was in the housing area. As per my experience, the issues which my students have not faced any issues, because even when all this dilemma was happening, I was in constant touch with them and their families, and they were like quite perplexed because they said they've not experienced anything on the ground, and this is something they're just hearing on the news and in the media. But two important things to be taken into consideration is the housing. When we talk about the housing is because when all these kids go there, not my kind of students whom I'm working with, but maybe the ones who are going from other states who have been promised a certain cost of education, including living, etc., where there are like so many of them living in low-cost housing, maybe in basements. I know about all these stories. And suddenly those costs are going up, and now maybe those kind of accommodations are not available.
Okay.
So I think that's where the dilemma is, and they really don't know where to go, because if they go into something better than that, then the cost of living goes up.
But
And maybe
otherwise,
that's
you know,
our
their
part.
classes are normally in universities and colleges. The classes are happening normally, and
All the good schools, all the good colleges, all the good universities, classes are happening. Now, again, as I said, just like in India, we have good, bad and ugly,
right.
right? We also have a university in a standalone building. It's the same thing there too. So we have to be careful when we are counseling our students, advising them where they need to go, and, you know, as I
Where
said,
they shouldn't be.
where to go and where
Going
they should
or
be, and
I-
they should connect with people who have graduated from there. Why is it that the students are not taking that extra step to safeguard their future? Why are they leaving everything to others? I feel.
Are career counseling agencies, you know, setting up, you know, this connects between alumni and the aspirants?
See, if you're asking me personally, I do that all the time.
Okay.
I make my students connect with past students, current students, down to even professors.
Oh.
You know, yes. I make
But
them.
how evolved is this service in India currently while it comes to counseling for studying abroad? Are other agencies also doing the same?
I am an independent counselor, and I work for the benefit of the students, not for the university. So I ensure that the students get into the best fit school based on their own career objectives, personal goals, and professional. While there's another set of people, like you must have heard of agents, like I don't want to mention names,
Of
who
course.
are working with universities, and their work is to ensure that they get the university the number of students that they need.
Right. Right.
Okay.
So there's
So they work differently. to
they
me.
work differently, and you know, there is almost no accountability.
Exactly. So like X university could come to them and say that, you know, I'll give you X amount of commission. You send me X amount of students. So they have not even visited, they know nothing about it. But then since they are in the forefront with the students and the parents, and based on their convincing skills, they're sending these kids. When the kids go there, they say, oh my God, where have I come in?
Right.
So
Interesting. That's a
So, you know, when you have to be totally transparent when you're working with students. You need to let them know where they're going.
My question
And
is,
then
how
it is
is
based
it
on that
possible
they
to
make that
choose the
decision.
right consultant? How can students choose because there is no rating or ranking for consultancies also. How is it? It's very difficult to figure out who to trust and who not to.
See, I think at the end of the day, you know, when you're looking for a mentor or a guide to help you through this entire process, entire journey of applications and getting in with scholarships, etc., and finding the best fit school based on your background, budget, so many other areas, I think you need to look at experience. You know, you have to see the experience, their knowledge, their success rate, which are the kind of students they've worked with, Where have these kids landed themselves in? Maybe take testimonials and references. You know, I think that would be the best way forward.
Great. So, as we see, US is making it really tough for international students, including Indians. Their new rule says that OPT holders have to work for a year with a company before they can apply for an H-1B visa. That's a hurdle. What would be your tips for professionals to navigate through this uncertainty and, plan their long-term career goals in the US?
I was just thinking about this question when you asked me, and I said that, as long as I remember that OPT, which is given to all students who do their undergraduate, they work with the company, all right, and then it's up to the company whether they want to sponsor them for an H-1 visa. But usually they land up working with them for that 1 year, every international student. I don't see a student maybe jumping companies unless they feel they're not going to be sponsored by that company.
Right.
Right? So, yes, it's a good thing that they choose the company wisely. Now, in my experience, again, I see all those big companies who are experienced in doing H-1 applications and the visa processing and documentations. You should work in those companies, because sometimes mistakes are made by those organizations who are not used to applying for H-1, and they make mistakes in documentations and the visa processing, and though they have all good intentions, the H-1 gets rejected. So choosing the right company which has those kind of experiences in doing H-1s and has an international pool of students, so they're experienced in it. I feel that those are the organizations which has the largest, highest success rate.
Great.
And the second thing is that when you are in college in the US, you must avail of internship opportunities. The more you will work with companies, the more opportunities you will get for a full-time job.
Right.
That
Indeed.
is the second thing which I would consider. And then you have to constantly be in touch with what is the updates in the policies which is happening in where the OPT is concerned. Also, try to do a STEM in the US. This is very important. For STEM, after the 1 year OPT, you are allowed to stay for 24 months more.
Oh.
That means, as a STEM student, science, technology, engineering, math, I can apply for my company can apply for H-1B visa for me 3 times, once every year.
Oh.
So, if I don't get it the first time, they can try again for me the second and then the third. So this way the companies don't mind recruiting you because they know you're going to be with them for 3 years.
Oh, that's a great insight and nugget of information and wisdom, I must say. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Everyone talks about high tuition fees, living costs, university rankings, while it comes to planning for studying abroad. But we have seen that language proficiency tests like IELTS and TOEFL and Duolingo, these are silently becoming the roadblocks for Indian students, especially for those with a non-English medium background. What would be your tips for them? How will they overcome this barrier?
See, that's a good question, but we need to understand that we are going to a country where English is the medium of instruction.
Right.
Suppose I went to France and French was a medium of instruction, I would have to learn French. It's the same thing here. So I would suggest that they should, read a lot of books, watch English movies, so get in tune with the language, with the vocabulary. There's so many apps now, you have Duolingo apps. They should use those apps. Take professional help, take classes, take tuitions. There's IELTS center every corner, where they are teaching you English. So I think that's the right way to go, because if you're thinking about studying in an English medium university or a college anywhere in the world, you need to know that language. And once you know that language, you will enjoy your entire experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, let's be honest, writing an SOP feels less like telling your own story and more like a literary Hunger game. So with so many AI generated options now, template overload and admissions officers hunting for authenticity. How can students make sure that they can actually stand out without sounding like someone else or many others who are also trying to stand out?
Absolutely right.
They shouldn't sound identical,
Yes.
right? With AI being so much on the forefront and so much other template overloads, like everybody, if we start templatizing everything, then everything will be like, identical, similar, right? So how do students in the current times, overcome this challenge of becoming identical with others?
You're absolutely right.
The matrix, it has become a matrix of sort, like, writing an SOP. Now people can create a matrix.
Yeah, it's like a battle of authenticity amidst
And originality.
in a sea of polished AI generated essay.
Right. Right.
This is quite challenging, but I think that writing your essays or writing your SOP has to be about you. Don't use templates.
Right.
First thing I would say, don't use templates. Your beginning paragraph is how you're defining a moment, where you're bringing the other person who's reading your essay into your space.
Right.
You don't have to tell them, you show them through your own life examples.
Absolutely.
Right? You don't make a statement, you make connections. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. I would say how high school debate experience made me a problem solver in a business venture that I started.
Right.
Connections. Or maybe how the stories which my grandmom told me influenced my design thinking skills.
Right.
So there's a connection which is happening. So don't make a statement. Your essay should not sound like a research paper.
It should have more personal anecdotes.
Yes, it has to be very personal. It has to be real. It has to be about you. Use AI as a tool, but don't use it like a crutch. Don't be so dependable on it. Use it to structure your essay. Use it to brainstorm for ideas. But then the story should be yours. It should be real. And I think this is something I always emphasize when I'm doing brainstorming sessions with my students, and when I get the first draft from them and I say, this is not you. Don't look for a polished AI jargon essay. It can be a simple essay which is showing a strong connection about who you truly are and what you're trying to say in it. So that's what I would say for the SOPs and essays. As I can say, I've been reading essays and SOPs forever. I feel SOPs need to be very conversationalist.
Absolutely. The tone should be conversational, chatty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to, they're not looking for a perfect essay. They just want to know more about you.
Maybe even the imperfections they're looking at.
Yes. They know that it's too perfect to be you.
Yeah.
So at the same time, it can be a conversationalist, it can be talking about yourself, and I think that's what the university wants to see. And I see the
do
universities
accept, verbal SOPs, like, the way, like, say, instead of a written one, do they accept recordings where the student talks about?
That's what's happening in the postgraduate.
Oh.
Yes. So video essays are coming up.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about it, like, video essays. I think video essays are more spontaneous and they're more real.
And even University of Toronto also asks for a video essay, at least one. They basically, I think, want to know about your strong communication skills, your ability to get your point across effectively, your style, your tone, your look, so the
entire body language.
They get a feel that, yes, the person who's written that essay, because there will be essays.
Yes.
And the person who's speaking in front of the camera are the same person.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So yes, even for masters now we have video essays. We have tell us about yourself kind of a thing, a small script which is written for them. Or sometimes they have a series of questions which is called the Kira interview. So it's not a one-to-one interview. These are pre-recorded questions, not pre-recorded, they are questions which are given there and then. and you get a few minutes to speak out those answers. And I think that's a really good way, because this way the students are also take their applications a bit more seriously. In the masters, they know they have to come in front of the camera and speak that language. So I'm quite happy about it.
Okay. With AI's growing role in admissions, how is it transforming the evaluation of applications processes, and what should students be aware of while applying?
So, a lot of universities are making use of AI to filter the applications, And what they're using them for is analyzing them, which is beyond the grades and the transcripts, like evaluating them where their essays are concerned or recommendation letters are their extracurricular activities. And what I believe they're doing is they're creating patterns, patterns of which demonstrates a certain leadership quality of theirs or creativity and things like that. So I think that's what universities are using AI for, and also something called predictive analysis.
Predictive analysis, yes.
Yes, so you've heard about that, right?
Yeah.
And what they're using is, what they're understanding is whether the student is apt for that university or not, based on the university's vision, academic requirements, culture, etc. So whether he's going to be a good fit. I thought that to be a little,
using a machine for predicting the
yes.
applicability or relevance of a human for a specific culture. How apt is it, or more human intervention is required while evaluating this part?
See, the initial filtration is being done by AI. Then finally the human admission officers are the ones who are going to make that call, whether the kid is right for the university. But yes, what I'm saying is that even the students should stop using. They should, I think, research about the university. They should learn about the university and bring that out in their essay. And I think that's what is going to help them get in. Because this year, I'll be honest with you, the admissions in the US universities was a very difficult process, because in the sense, I have never seen so many waitlisted applications in my 22 years than what I saw this time. So definitely something is happening somewhere, and I really don't know what till I don't attend the International ACAD conference. But from my understanding, yes, AI is going to play a huge role, but there will be, the students have to be mindful about the digital footprint that they are using, so it should not be very AI generated. It should just be about themselves and their application. Make themselves sound strong, unique, different. How are they going to make a difference, contribute to that university? It should be coming from their heart. I mean, they don't need an AI to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So everyone knows about the big name scholarships like Fulbright and Chevening, but there are many hidden gems, the lesser known ones. Could you share a few such scholarships which Indian students often miss out?
Well, one of the most prominent ones is the Tata Scholarship with Cornell University.
Okay.
And then you have Dr. Manmohan Singh scholarships. Then we have GREAT scholarships for UK. Then we have Infosys also has their own set of scholarships.
Okay.
And then we also have Mahindra & Mahindra Merit Scholarship. We have CSIR Fellowship Scholarship by Indian government. So I think these are some of the scholarships that they can, and there are many more, but it all depends upon the percentage of scholarships. It's very competitive.
Right. Right.
It's not that easy to get those scholarships. A whole lot of essays.
But these are lesser known hidden gems, we can say, right?
Yes. I think a lot of people know about these scholarships, in fact.
Is there anything that people hardly know about, but
maybe I feel they know about it because I'm working with scholarships all the time. But yes, but these are very popularly, I always advise my students to apply for these scholarships,
but they are very stringent, these things,
in awarding,
eligibility and
in awarding scholarships, yes. It's not that easy. You have to be sounding really unique and, a student with extraordinary
How do you prepare your students for these scholarships?
So the thing is, when I think about scholarships is always meritorious. So it has to be with those students who are strong academic achievers. So when we talk about academic achievement, not only what they've done in school, but how they've availed of all opportunities outside the school to enhance themselves intellectually and scholastically. So when I look at, maybe they have participated in international Olympiad and have come up with certain ranking, IMO, AMCs, or have done some major contribution where the environment is concerned, climate change, have done some research paper which has been published and accepted by some world-renowned journals and has been and they have presented the paper in a conference in Oxford or something, something out of the box, something which is beyond just the academics.
Right.
Something that huge achievement, and that's what they're looking for in the scholarships.
Great. Which countries, according to you, offer the best internship or post-study work opportunities and affordable education?
So when you're talking about affordable education, quality education, and the third thing would be career prospects, right?
Right.
So in that, if I'm looking at a destination which offers both affordability as well as good postgraduate work opportunities, then there are some few favorites countries. One is of course Germany, and Germany is so strong in tech, AI, business, and if you know, 15.5 billion euros was contributed from international students in Germany. Because of its low cost 18-month work visa, it becomes my favorite destination for international students. Then of course we have France, where you can now, postgraduates, I think they've extended the visa to 5 years. Right. So we have France, then we have Netherlands for 1 year, which is again known for AI and tech. Then we go to places like Canada is there, 3 years post-graduation work visa. Australia, Australia can move from 2 to 6 depending upon which degree. For instance, if it's anything to do with healthcare, technology, hospitality, same thing with New Zealand, then you get those extra points and you can stay there for a longer time. Then of course we have Canada, which I just mentioned, of course, Ireland.
Oh.
Ireland, how could I forget Ireland? So Ireland, you can study there for 2 years after graduation, and now of course their headquarters to Facebook and LinkedIn. So it's a great place for starting your career, and there's I can see a whole lot of students who are looking at Ireland now for future career prospects. So when I think about MBAs and I think of STEM, I think of the United States and I think of Canada. So I still think that. So when we say that affordable, but sometimes a slightly more costlier education could be beneficial in the long run.
Right. So let's come to the last question. See, there are certain things that no one warns students of. It's the culture shock, the shock of the difference of habits. So, this is an invisible syllabus. The way you need to adapt to not only the weather and the food, but also to the culture and the environment and the other typical idiosyncrasy of every race. That's an invisible syllabus. How do you prepare your students to adapt to this, to actually master this invisible syllabus?
I like the way you use the word master this invisible syllabus, It's so important to understand this invisible syllabus when you are counseling students or when the students are moving forward to overseas for their higher education. I think beyond academics, there's cultural preparedness. You have to prepare yourself for the kind of differences in cultures. The classroom dynamics, which is completely different from our country, as well as social expectations can be quite overwhelming, So what I do is that the best way to prepare them is to give them a lot of deeper understanding of where they're going in, explaining to them that adapting, how important it is to adapt, and also, for instance, I'll give you a little example, like in the US and UK, we have our classrooms where we are always engaged in discussions, debating on challenging ideas, and they don't want students to just listen, they want students to be a part of this engaging experience. So what I tell my students is that, why don't you look at some online forums, why don't you get in touch with professors? Why don't you read a little bit more and start engaging in conversations and discussions, because you don't want to be in a classroom where everyone is talking and you're quiet. And even adapting, and sometimes I tell them that you need to undo some of your learning habits.
Yes, unlearn something.
Unlearn certain habits and embrace new ways of thinking. So when you're going to a classroom or when you're engaging with people or students, you have to adapt to that environment.
Right.
And that is something which, so that your entire experience may not be like a shock, but it can be a wonderful transition or a rewarding experience. So this is something which is very important, understanding the university that you're going to, what is the kind of culture that they have, classroom, engagement, social psychology, or we can say social interactions are very important, because you don't want to live in isolation.
Thanks a lot for such an insightful conversation. It was a very freewheeling chat, and I'm sure our study abroad aspirants will get to know about a lot of things, starting from the ground reality of Canada to affordable education hubs to post-study work permits, and also the new age courses that are coming up. It's really enlightening and insightful. Thanks a lot again, Niharika, for being with us here.
Thank you so much for giving me these opportunities, and I look forward
Thank you
to next sessions.
Yeah, absolutely.